Wyatt Langford and the rest of this Rangers offense are starting to remind me of Stella, because I think they just got their groove back.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into Wyatt Langford finally awakening, along with the rest of this Rangers offense awakening and the return of Max Scherzer, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, the Rangers did something this weekend that somehow they hadn't done all year long, and that was complete a sweep. That's right, the Rangers had not swept anybody all year long, and it is June 23rd as I'm sitting here recording this. It really should have happened a lot sooner, but hey, I will take it. I will absolutely take it, especially with the way that they did it. I mean, this was a dominant weekend for Rangers pitching. They have 22 consecutive scoreless innings pitched by this team, including a back-to-back shutouts of this Royals team, which is something they hadn't done. The Royals hadn't been shut out in back-to-back games since early in 2023. This Royals team is going through it, and I think whatever hitting curse, whatever bad hitting mojo was infecting the entirety of this Rangers lineup, I think they just did a whole switcheroo and said, nope, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you, except whatever hitting curse you've cast upon me bounces off me and sticks to you. Now, I don't know if the Royals were the ones that cursed this Rangers offense, but it's nice to see some other team just absolutely anemic on offense. And it's nice to see that the Rangers, while they're facing an anemic offense, actually took advantage and put some runs up on the board and did enough to make it comfortable for their pitchers this whole weekend long. Now, they saved it till a little bit late in a couple of these games, but good on them for just getting there, getting on the board, getting those big innings, which is something this team did with regularity last year and has not done with nearly as much regularity this year. I mean, they haven't had, big games, let alone big innings of just, piling on. I mean, if all the offense is going to come in a couple innings and that offense is going to be 5 runs, that's fine. When all your offense comes in, 1 inning and it's just 1 solo home run, or it comes in 0 innings and nothing's happening, then that's less fun. That's less of a way to win baseball games continually. But the Rangers are on a 4-game winning streak, and the bat of Wyatt Langford is really propelling them there. He just had a phenomenal month of June and a phenomenal weekend as well, getting his first career grand slam this weekend, an absolutely majestic homer that he just completely annihilated to give the Rangers a 6-0 lead, which they would not look back on. Just absolutely crushed that baseball. He's been crushing baseballs the entire month of June. In the month of June, he's hitting over 300. He's slugging over 500, got an OPS of 876. And in 19 games, he's got 18 RBIs. Now, I'm more of an advanced stats kind of guy. I don't think that RBIs are the most important stat, but when your offense isn't scoring at all and you get an RBI, that means a run's going on the board. And that's a good thing. And it's a rare thing. It had been a rare thing for this Rangers offense of guys coming up in the clutch with runners in scoring position, being able to hit well and drive in runs and just, create those opportunities of just getting runners in scoring position for the month of May was incredibly difficult. And even in early June, it was pretty difficult for this Rangers offense, just getting shut down time and time again. But the fact that this team has scored 4 more runs during this entire 4-game winning streak, and even the game before, they scored a whole 6 runs against the Mets before the bullpen blew its first big blown lead of the year. But the fact that this offense is scoring with regularity, and it's done so without much of help from Corey Seager, that is a huge sign that things are actually starting to turn around. Getting big days from Nathaniel Lowe, from Jonah Heim, from Wyatt Langford, from guys up and down this lineup, and not to mention the phenomenal month of June Josh Smith is having, which we'll talk about him a little bit later on. But getting a 3-hit day from Nathaniel Lowe, getting a 3-walk day from Jonah Heim in the same game, that is a huge sign of progress for this offense. And if Wyatt Langford is going to keep hitting like this, going to keep hitting like an absolute maniac, not letting the expanded strike zone get to him, not, chasing too much out of the zone, not being too overly aggressive to compensate for him not having the best, first 50-something games to his major league career. He's staying within himself. And something that I talked about when Wyatt Langford went on the IL with that injury is just giving him that time to, reset, to refocus, to just take a break, be away from the game for a couple weeks. And, remember, I'm actually a really good baseball player. And that's exactly what happened for him. He said he went back and watched some film of what he was doing at Florida. Remember, that was fun. See some things mechanically, just like, okay, this is what I was having success with last year while I was in college. I mean, it was literally a year ago. He was in the Men's College World Series, crushing taters in college. And here he is in the middle of what was supposed to be one of the better lineups in baseball. And he is 22 years old. I mean, this guy figures things out at an incredibly quick rate, and just giving him that time to rest and refocus and reset himself mentally. I mean, he's started to make those adjustments. He started hitting the absolute crap out of baseballs. He started elevating the ball more, which is leading to more balls in the gaps and using his speed to leg out what some people would have. Most people with average speed would just be a single for them. But with Wyatt Langford's speed, he's turning a lot of these into doubles, and some that are just easy doubles because he just hit the absolute tarnation out of a baseball into the gap. That is the player that the Rangers envisioned when they drafted him 4th overall last year. I don't know that they envisioned him doing that. There's no way they envisioned him doing this quickly and, just blazing through the minor leagues at an absolutely insane pace because there was nothing left for him to learn there. He had to learn how to fail at the big league level and then come out of it. Well, he's failed at the big league level the first couple months of the season, and now it's looking like he's coming out of it. I mean, if it only takes this kid, 50 games of Major League Baseball to, become an at least, above average hitter, which is what he's been for the past, month, basically since he's returned. He's played 53 games of the big league so far, and he's already about gotten his OPS plus back to league average, and he's 22 years old. It's insane the pace this guy is doing these things with. I know that he didn't immediately live up to expectations. He had the most amazing spring training I think I've ever seen any rookie ever have ever. And then it took him a second because spring training stats, like I said, all spring training, they don't particularly matter. They don't. But just because it's taken this guy a month and a half worth of games to figure things out does not mean that he is going to be like every other Rangers prospect that broke your heart. That's not the case. This guy is there's been a lot of burden on him, and because if everyone else in this offense was hitting about like they were supposed to, then Wyatt Langford struggling for the first month and a half of the season would not be this big of an issue. There wouldn't be a whole magnifying glass on him. Same with Evan Carter struggling for the first month and a half of the season, which, by the way, he is headed to Arizona to start on a rehab assignment here pretty soon. So hopefully we can get him back into the lineup and see just adding just another quality bat into this lineup. And then the Rangers might have some difficult decisions to make because their second best hitter all year has been Josh Smith, who after an incredible month of April and a down month of May has been better than ever in the month of June. And it is a great thing for the Rangers, not just now, but for many years to come. We're talking about why right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. If you're thinking that this Rangers sweep of the Royals is going to boost them back into the playoff hunt, right now they are plus 260 to make the playoffs. If you're wanting to look at them possibly winning the AL West, right now they have the third best odds, plus 700. Mariners right now minus 260. Astros plus 320, or if you're feeling absolutely insane and you want to put some money down on the A's to win the AL West, they are plus 50,000. So go check it out at FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you versus the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, Josh Smith was not the first Josh that people thought of when they thought of the Rangers' trinity of Joshes. Usually, they thought of Josh Young, All-Star, Rookie of the Year finalist, World Series champion. And granted, all three of the Joshes are World Series champions. Or you thought of Josh Sborz, who threw the iconic final pitch of the Rangers World Series championship on Game 5. And then there was Josh Smith, who didn't play all that much in that playoff run, and didn't play a whole lot in the regular season. Didn't play a massive role, but still provided some value for the Rangers when they needed him most. When Corey Seager was on the shelf last year, he stepped up and wasn't quite the same caliber of hitter as Ezekiel Duran, but provided a lot of depth and really did his best to step up in that 6-week stretch where Josh Young was on the shelf in August and early September. But this year, Josh Smith has transcended into the Rangers' second best hitter in a lineup that featured Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Nathaniel Lowe, Jonah Heim, Wyatt Langford, all these guys supposed to be incredible hitters. And, they've all had success to varying degrees at points this year. Marcus Semien has had the most success consistently among them. But Josh Smith has just been a better hitter than him this year. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And after a down month in May, he had an incredible month of April, Josh Smith, with an OPS that was over 900, 927. Then he really fell back down to earth in May in 25 games. In that month, he had an OPS below 700, and I thought, okay, is the league just starting to figure him out? Is he, just not able to make the same tweaks, not able to, handle the same type of pitches? Have pitchers just kind of figured out a way to, neutralize Josh Smith? Was that just a 1 month nice little fluky thing, which we saw from last year from Ezekiel Duran? The first half of the season before the All-Star break, he was absolutely phenomenal. And then down the stretch, he just could not crack the lineup. He could not get consistent at-bats, and he just was phased out and was left off the playoff roster until that injury to Adolis Garcia in the World Series. And even then, he didn't get to play at all in the playoffs. But with Smith, I thought, okay, well, he's had potential. Both those guys have had potential. And I've said this for a couple years now, that I think both those guys are, the caliber of player that could be starting every day on a good team. Not just a, bad team, just, they can be a passable shortstop or second base or third base or wherever some other team would want them. But those guys could be first division starters. And the reason they aren't is because the Rangers have 3 All-Stars on their infield. 3 All-Stars, and the other guy who's not an All-Star is a Silver Slugger and a Gold Glover at first base. And I don't think either of those guys are going to be playing every day at first base. But at this rate, Josh Smith just might be. I don't think he's going to take Nathaniel Lowe's spot necessarily, but I think it's something that the Rangers are considering. If Lowe keeps up this offensive cold streak, then Josh Smith is too good to not play every day. He's too good to be just a platoon guy just against righties and, not hit against lefties, even though he did have a very nice sac bunt against Zerpa the other night, which, by the way, was his call. It was not Bruce Bochy telling him to lay down a sac bunt. And Zerpa was a guy who Smith said he had faced before and hadn't had success against and didn't feel super comfortable hitting against, so he rolled out that sac bunt and had a productive out and ended up working out because the Rangers would end up scoring 5 runs in that inning. But Josh Smith is now an integral part of this Rangers offense, not just now, but moving forward as well. And he is under contract for quite some time. Josh Smith is Super 2 eligible, which means he gets an extra year of arbitration. He gets 4 years of arbitration. This is still a pre-arbitration year, but he doesn't start arbitration till next year, which means he is under contract through 2028 with the Rangers. The same year that Marcus Semien is under contract through. Just for reference point there, by the way. He is going to have about the same, actually, no, I think the exact same number of years as Josh Young. Both those guys will be on the Rangers till 2028. Same with Zeke Duran as well. But this gives you an option if some of these worrying trends from early on in the season keep going. If Adolis Garcia just does not have that spark anymore and can't provide that kind of offense, then you have an option of Josh Smith being an everyday outfielder, maybe moving Wyatt Langford to right field and Evan Carter in center. Or if you just absolutely can't stand the sight of Leo Taveras, which if that's you, then you need to check yourself. Just check yourself. And even if that's the case, even if Leote gets back to what he was last year, even if he does get back to that, being a 2.5 to 3-win player, Josh Smith has been better than that this year. And Wyatt Langford has potential to be better than that, and Evan Carter as well has potential to be better than that. So if Adolis Garcia returns to form, and Evan Carter returns to form, and Wyatt Langford keeps doing this, then maybe Josh Smith is your everyday DH. I don't know exactly what the right answer as to where Josh Smith is going to stack in this lineup once Josh Young comes back, which, by the way, it should be any day now. Could be Monday, could be Tuesday. The Rangers are going to see how he feels. He is off his rehab assignment. He is just with the team, dealing with a little soreness. But once he gets the all clear, then he will be back in this lineup, and Josh Smith will still be in this lineup every single day. Now, where exactly that is, at first it's going to probably be at DH, so you'll stop having a platoon DH of Travis Jankowski and Robbie Grossman, which is going to do nothing but good things for your offense moving forward. And then once Evan Carter comes back, then you have the tough decision of what's going to happen with the outfield. Is Adolis Garcia going to take some more time off? Is Leo Taveras going to not be an everyday player? That's when you have the tough decision to make. Or is Leo Taveras just going to platoon with Evan since he just can't hit lefties or hasn't really been given much of a chance to as of late? I'm not sure how much of it was just him not being able to hit lefties versus that back issue playing up and being a big reason for why he struggled so mightily for the last 3 weeks that he was playing. Not entirely sure. I don't know if the Rangers are entirely sure either. But this forces you to make some tough decisions. And it's a good problem to have. But it is still a problem. But with the way this offense has been so anemic for most of this year, I think that having this pressure when Josh Young comes back nobody's job is guaranteed on this roster. Outside of Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Josh Young, and Jonah Heim. Even Adolis Garcia, who did sign that extension, who is getting paid well for the next couple of years and absolutely deserves to be, even though he is struggling so far this year. It lights a fire under everybody of, hey, we got this guy, Josh Smith, who is absolutely crushing it right now. And, oh, by the way, the other guy who is going to go to be relegated to the second tier, second string, I guess, backup, or I guess third string backup infielder whatever it is, I guess second string backup infielder. So technically the third string infielder is Ezekiel Duran, who is also a really darn good player in his own right. This team has the depth of the Wyatt, which is why it's been so incredibly frustrating. This offense just has not been able to get going this year. But it looks like this weekend might be the thing that is just starting to kickstart this offense, with still being aggressive on the base path, still making some smart decisions, still, trusting this lineup up and down, trusting the depth, trusting the next guy up, even if the next guy up is struggling and you're struggling too, and not trying to play hero ball. That's what made this offense so darn good last year, and it's what's going to fix them and make them better again this year. And this weekend, we finally got a little bit of a sneak preview of that while they are waiting for more reinforcements to come back. But they did get some big reinforcements off the IL on Sunday with Max Scherzer's first start. Didn't go quite as many pitches as he expected. We're going to talk about why right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse. Get the supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM. And order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere in just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Now, the Rangers' rotation has stepped up all year long with so many guys on the shelf and so many guys sustaining injuries early on in the season that we did not anticipate. But now, this rotation is starting to look more like we anticipated it, with Max Scherzer making his season debut for the Rangers on Sunday and looking just like the best version of himself. I mean, the Rangers said many times over, "Hey Max, we don't need you to be, peak Max Scherzer. We don't need you to be, 3-time Cy Young winner. We just need you to eat us some innings, keep us in this game, and just be solid." Max Scherzer said, "Okay, I hear you. I see you. I'm going to go ahead and be peak Max Scherzer anyway," and retire the first 13 batters that he faced, only one base runner in his 5 innings of work. 4 strikeouts, tied Greg Maddux for the 11th most strikeouts in Major League Baseball history. And then came out of the game after throwing just 57 pitches. The Rangers' 2 pitchers in this one, they used 2 pitchers to combine for a Maddux. Complete game shutout on under 100 pitches. They were just up there pushing up against it. Max Scherzer threw 57 pitches. Jose Urena threw 42 pitches. Scherzer went out there for 5 innings, didn't walk anybody, had 4 strikeouts, and the only hit was a double by MJ Melendez, who had a fantastic defensive weekend. But the reason that he came out early is because he was starting to feel a little bit of that tension with the nerve issue that he was dealing with that set back his initial rehab assignment, which is the reason why it took him till June 23rd to make his season debut, as opposed to it being about a month earlier, which it looked like it just might be. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that is going to send him back on the IL. He said he was just being cautious, and it was more about going out there and just keeping himself ready to go out there the next day. Initially, the thought was he would throw somewhere between 80 to 85 pitches in this one, maybe 85 to 90 if things were going well. But it's going to be tough for him to keep building back up. He hasn't built up enough and didn't build up enough with this start of throwing only 57 pitches. It's probably going to be the same target number of pitches in his next start, which is going to be in 4 or 5 days of him getting to that 80 to 85 pitch mark and getting himself ready and just making sure that he stays healthy and stays ready. in this rotation because he is a big part of this rotation. And I would very much like some apology letters from so many people who are saying, ugh, this guy's about to turn 40. He's washed. He's not going to do anything anymore. He's totally done. And the many fans around Major League Baseball have said, ugh, yeah, that's Max Scherzer guy. He's definitely going to be terrible. Like he wasn't great for the Rangers down the stretch last year. He was phenomenal. He was so much better than he was with the Mets because he was on a team that actually had talent and was winning and, was feeding that competitive fire that Max Scherzer has, probably the most competitive fire of anybody in Major League Baseball. But just getting him back in the mix and the rotation looking a little bit more like we imagined it, of having Max Scherzer, Nate Eovaldi, John Gray, Michael Lorenzen, and Andrew Heaney in your rotation. That's a solid rotation. That's a good rotation. That's maybe even a really good rotation. But it moves Dane Dunning back into the bullpen, a role where he feels comfortable, and having him as another multi-inning option guy really helps out this team. Dunning hasn't been amazing so far as a starter, but he's been solid. The strikeout numbers have been way up, but he's just been hit hard by the long ball. He's been bitten a little bit too much by the walks. But as of late, he's been looking much better. But still, when you add Max Scherzer into your rotation, somebody's got to take a step and hop out of the rotation, and that was the case for him. And it was also the case for Jose Urena, who was incredible in this game. I mean, just absolutely incredible. 4 shutout innings from him, just 1 hit, 1 walk, the rare 4-inning save, his first save of the season, and brought his ERA for the season down below 3. Having him and also having Dane Dunning as your long men out of the pen, that shored up one of the few weaknesses in this bullpen. Having those guys be the B side of your bullpen, that's bullpen depth. That's the kind of bullpen that if your starter just doesn't have it one day, or your starter only goes, 5 innings, or if he has to leave the game early, or just gets absolutely lit up, those are the kind of guys who can keep you in a game if this offense, starts clicking again and can start hitting again and start putting up runs. Those are the kind of guys that can put some zeros up on the board and allow you to even think about coming back in games that this team just hasn't been able to do so far this season. More because the offense has been anemic than the pitching hasn't stepped up. But it seems like Cody Bradford, whenever he returns to this team from the injured list, he is also going to be going into the bullpen. And if you have those 3 guys as you have 3 guys who can give you multiple innings to 3 innings to 4 innings to maybe even 5 if you absolutely need it from them, that gives this pen so much depth. I mean, right now, there's not really a weak link in this bullpen. I mean, it is a very deep bullpen, a very deep rotation. I mean, the guy who's probably the least trustworthy, well, you got Brock Burke out there, but even he looked amazing in his first outing back. I mean, he looked absolutely exceptional, touching 97 out there and just lighting up the radar gun and lighting up hitters this weekend. He looked fantastic. And then you have Leclerc, Robertson, Yates, Latz. I mean, and eventually Spores is coming back, and you're going to make a decision on one of these guys in the bullpen of what you're going to do with Jonathan Hernandez or what you're going to do with Brock Burke or Jacob Latz. I think that Latz might be the odd man out only because he has minor league options, but still, it's going to put this Rangers team in another situation like with the hitters of where Josh Smith is going to play every day whenever Josh Young comes back. It'll be a good problem to have to say, okay, well, one of these guys, we just got too many good guys in our bullpen. That is a massively great problem. It is literally the best problem you could possibly have. It is still a problem, but it is the best one that the Rangers could possibly have. And it might force the Rangers to get creative in that if they don't want to send down Latz, even though he does have options, they might look at, possibly getting a trade for a Jonathan Hernandez or a Brock Burke. Or they might still have to do that anyway, depending on how many of those other guys who were on the shelf end up coming back and looking great with Bradford and DeGrom and Malley. You still got 3 starters that are on the IL right now. And 2 of them ain't going to the bullpen. And what will happen to your rotation when those guys do come back, if those guys do come back, and how do they look when they come back? The Rangers will be forced to have some difficult questions. I think that of the guys who are in this 5-man rotation right now, I think Heaney would probably be the first one that I would send back to the pen. But I mean, you also have Michael Lorenzen out there, who was, word of mouth, guaranteed to be a starter this year. I think he is going to stick in the pen, or stick in the rotation, at least for now. But I mean, adding Malley and adding DeGrom back, if those guys look like the versions of themselves that the Rangers are hoping for, I mean, one of either Andrew Heaney or John Gray or Michael Lorenzen, maybe two of them, are going to have to end up going to the pen, because I know Max Scherzer ain't going to the bullpen. I know Nathan Eovaldi ain't going to the bullpen, and those two of those three guys have been having amazing seasons so far as starters. I mean, Lorenzen has been fantastic this year. I think he's gotten away with it, been a little lucky with the amount of base runners that he's allowed, and the amount of walks and hits that he's allowed, and not really striking a whole ton of guys out. But he's still been really darn good, and really darn good as a starter, and I don't think he would transition as well to the pen. I don't think his stuff would play up nearly as well out of the pen, because he is so good facing that order a second and third time through, because he's got 7-8 different pitches that he's throwing out there with regularity, and that helps him go deep into games that other starters just don't have. Most guys don't have 7-8 pitches that they can actually trust to throw against anybody, and that's something that Lorenzen brings to the table. I think the obvious answer was John Gray, because his stuff plays up so well out of the pen. We saw him be so freaking nasty. We've even seen him out of the pen a little bit this year in random spots. But he has been phenomenal. He had another great start this weekend. I mean, 6 shutout innings. He only had 3 strikeouts, but bouncing back after that rough outing against the Mets, where it seemed like he might have actually been tipping those pitches. He had some concerns that was why the Mets felt like they knew it was coming, as he was tipping his pitches, especially with the fastball. But that wasn't the case against this Royals lineup. I mean, he made them look absolutely terrible, as did all the Rangers pitchers this weekend. They made this Royals hit lineup look absolutely terrible. But the Rangers have some good, tough decisions to make on moving forward. It's going to be a little bit before they have to make any more decisions with that rotation, because I'm not exactly sure when we're going to see Malley or DeGrom or even Cody Bradford back, or even Josh Spores back. But those decisions are on the horizon. And finally, this offense is starting to look like itself. And, those tough decisions, well, they are tough decisions, are going to make this lineup even better. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.